we confess our sins, He is faithful and just to forgive us of our sins and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. I want to ask you to answer this within yourself, not out loud. Do you really believe that? Do you really believe that? The last few weeks we've talked a lot about asking God to forgive us of our sin. And that's a part of this verse. And we spent a lot of time talking about total forgiveness and what that involves in us asking others to forgive us and for us to forgive others. And I want to take it one more final step tonight to finish up this subject. But I want to ask you, in your life and in your dealings with other people, in the difficult things that you have gone through and experienced, or what you're going through right now, have you forgiven yourself? We talk a lot about asking God to forgive us. We talk a lot about asking others to forgive us and us forgiving others. But I don't know if I have ever heard, growing up in church, a pastor or a Sunday school teacher or any teacher ever saying it's important to forgive yourself. Total forgiveness involves all three of those things. And it's very, very important. When you think of that verse, there's our responsibility. And our responsibility is if we confess our sin, that's our job. We have to ask and admit our sin. We have got to speak it forward to God the Father. And then you turn around and it's God's responsibility. God's responsibility to be faithful, which means God's not going to lie. He can't lie. That God is just, that God is going to be fair in everything that He does, and that God is going to cleanse and wash it all away. That is His responsibility. And if that's what we truly believe, guess what? If we truly believe it, we're going to live it out. Did you know that? If you really believe something, you're going to live out what you believe. Think about it in life. Can you think of an example of that? That if you really believe something, you know, we all know the example of the chair. If I really believe the chair is going to hold me up, I want to get in. If I really believe my lawnmower is going to mow my yard, I want to start it up and run, and you'll see it sitting out beside the fence because that's where it died. And it won't go any further. And I don't know why, but I'm not worried about it. That's God's problem. I'll walk away from it and I'll go back to it another day. But I believe one day it's going to start back up. So I'm going to keep working on it till it does. But you think about it. If we really believe something, we're going to do it. We're going to live it out. There's a difference between believing and practicing. You know, we saw that back several months ago when we were going through 1 Corinthians in chapter 13 and verse 5. It says, love keeps no record of wrong. Remember that? Love. True agape love. True biblical love. The way that God loves us. Love. True love keeps no record of wrong. And that's an important word because that phrase, no record, in the Greek is logazomai. And it means not to reckon. Will not impute. And the reason I ask you if you really believe that verse, if I confess my sin, that God is faithful and just to forgive me of my sin and cleanse me from all unrighteousness, is because Romans 4:5 says the person that believes, then their faith is credited to them as righteousness. And guess what? It's the same Greek word. It's the same meaning. It's credited as righteousness if we confess our sin. So, if I really believe that, I'm going to live that out. I'm going to live it out. You take Romans 4:8, blessed is the man whose sin the Lord will never count against him. Guess what? It's the same word. God doesn't count our sin against us. You know why he doesn't count it against me? Because Jesus paid for it on the cross. If that's what I'm trusting in, if that's what I'm asking God to cleanse me from, it's been taken care of on the cross. Same word. Just as important as it is to forgive other people. In other words, there's no longer a record. Well, let me tell you something. If there's no longer a record because I've forgiven somebody, listen, if there's no longer a record because God doesn't keep a record, he washes it away what? As far as east from west. Right? Well, guess what? Same should be true with me. I don't keep a record of all that I would not be willing to forgive myself for. It would be so easy to beat myself up with things in my life. I told y'all know my story. And my only regret in living that story is that I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't faithful enough to trust God a long time ago. It took so long for God to bring me to the point that I understood that I needed to say, God, I'm sorry. Because I harbored ill will towards you. Because you let polio come in my life. I was wrong. I harbored ill will toward those students. I harbored ill will toward people that made fun of me. I was unforgiving. And that's the part of it. Well, let me tell you something. I had to forgive myself. I had to take that another level later on. I had to learn to forgive myself for beating myself up that I didn't do it a long time ago. Does that make sense? That's total forgiveness. That I'm right with God, I'm right with others, and guess what? I'm free with myself. I have forgiven myself. There's a danger when we start trying to keep a record of wrong. There's a real danger. Wrong was done. Yes, maybe something evil has taken place. I'm not going to argue with you there. Let me tell you something. Total forgiveness means that you see the evil or the wrong that's done. But guess what? It's just like a marker board. I've got them all numbered up here, and I take an eraser, and I erase them all. That's total forgiveness. Because the enemy's not going to see it anymore. God doesn't see it anymore. And guess what? I don't need to see it anymore. I don't need to look at that. That was then. This is now. Before that grudge lodges in our heart, before that offense that was done to us takes root of bitterness inside of us, it needs to be willfully forgotten. Before we let resentment set in. That goes back to 1 Corinthians 13. Love keeps no record. So the very love that God has shown to me in forgiving me, the very love that I've shown somebody else to forgive them, is the very love I need to show to myself. To forgive myself. Listen, Satan knows what we know. Satan knows what we know. He's hanging out there just waiting for the opportunity to bring it up again. Go back just a couple of weeks ago in 2 Corinthians 2:11, when Paul was talking about the topic of offering forgiveness, he said this. On the subject of forgiveness, Paul said, I am not ignorant of Satan's ways. The devil knows. And let me tell you something, usually our bitterness is what allows him to find a way in every time. Because we'll get to that, it's like whatever this is on my finger. I thought I had it soft away and it's come back again. And we dig on it and we're not stabs me. That hurts. She feels really bad about it. She just, but she just tries to get something and it won't come out. But there's something in there because it keeps coming back up. that little seed of bitterness that's hid somewhere inside because we have not told him forgive us. And guess what he does? He brings it back up. And it comes to the surface and it festers up and it becomes a sore spot all over again. He knows us. We have to totally forgive in order to not give him the opportunity. It's like some people, and this part I don't understand. It's like some people, they don't want to forgive. It's like they want to offer it up on a silver platter and say, remind me. Remind me. I'm just not going to let go. They just rather live bitter in their life. Not me. I've been on the bitter side. I'd much rather walk on the side of forgiveness. How about you?
Amen.
We must totally forgive. Why do we totally forgive? Well, I'll tell you why. We're human beings, and it's easy for us to have a little sheet of paper that we begin to write those things down on. And we keep that little flip pad, kind of like Mr. Jim had. Mr. Jim, we were his caregiver, but he had, ain't no telling how many flip pads that guy had, but he wrote little things down. I mean, they were just one little flip pad after another. But we're human. And we store certain things back in our minds so that we can use them later. And in our minds, you know what we say? In our minds, we say, I believe Jesus when he said, vengeance is mine. He was going to take care of it. But let me tell you something. We say Jesus is a liar on that statement when we bring him back up again. Because we don't forgive and let go. And guess what? We don't let Jesus take care of it. We try to take care of it again. We must be willing to let God handle those situations. Whoever it is. It may be your spouse. It may be your kids. It may be your grandkids. It may be your neighbor. It may be your co-worker. You know, I don't know who it is. Let it go. We have to let go of the record of wrong. You know, think about this. My obedience to forgive others because God has forgiven me and then forgiving myself and letting go is a choice that I make. It's just like loving someone unconditionally. You know, love is a choice. Love is a choice that we make. We can choose to love or hate somebody. Love is a choice. It's an act of our will to keep a record of a wrong that somebody has done, or keep a record of a wrong of what you have done. Is the same thing. It's an act of your will. Let me tell you something. I don't care how many times you screw up. If you can't forgive yourself and move on, you are never going to have a productive life, much less a happy life. Yeah, I tell those guys, I told them last night at Bible study down on the farm, I told them, I said, you know, I don't understand, some of the addiction that you've been through. And I said, you know, for me, it was chocolate, and then it was bubble gum, and it was Skoal, and they're sitting there waiting on me to get to the heavy stuff, and I said, you know, that's it for me. But I was addicted to it. I was. You know what? The only thing that freed me from those addictions that I had to have it was the Lord. If it wasn't for the Holy Spirit in me, that's the only ability that I had to say no. And that's all that we have, the ability to say no to those kind of things. And they're sitting there thinking, because one of them said to me, he says, like, all right, Pastor Buddy, what else? I said, well, pretty much my addiction, you know. That's where I had been. You know, but it's no different. It's no different. No different than the earth. God forgave me. God freed me. And let me tell you something. If you say God can't do you, then you know what you're saying? God ain't big enough. you're saying God's a liar. But I want to tell you what God says. Greater is He that's in me than that devil that keeps bringing that up in the world. I'm telling you, you're saying God's a liar. God doesn't lie. God doesn't lie. So we don't want to allow Satan the opportunity to bring a record of wrong back up again. The choice not to love is by far the easiest choice that we can make. And I want to tell you how we usually violate that choice to love other people. It's our mouth. James put it this way. He said, likewise the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boast. Consider the great forest that's set on fire by a small part. The tongue also is a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole person and sets the whole course of his life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. Where does that speech come from? It comes from the pit of hell. Instead of getting it off our chest, sometimes our words cause an uncontrollable fire that erupts from deep down inside. And in the end, it intensifies and it grows, and the devil uses it for his victory. And in the end, our life usually becomes infected because of it. How do we protect our tongue in those situations? Good thing. When somebody does wrong to you, don't point it out. Now, if a brother offends you, the Bible says go to him and tell him. But you don't point it out to him. There's a difference. And if a person does you wrong, refuse to point it out to others. And I'll be honest with you, that last one is important because if you're not going to tell anybody else about it, it'll die out anyway. You know that? It'll die out anyway. On slow death. If we just practice this one part, a lot of that would quit coming up. The hurt would be put to rest. Keeping it out of our thoughts and keeping it out of our words. Amen? Right. And another reason we refuse to keep a record. How about we turn this around for a minute? What about keeping a record of the things that we've done right? Because let me tell you something. The flip side of it is I beat myself up over the things that I'm keeping a record of that people have done to me. What if I keep a record of all the things that I've done right? Well, look here, look here, look here, look. Well, that's a matter of what?
Both.
Thank you, Denise. That's pride. Yeah. I told you so. And honestly, in those situations when we say, look what I did, I'm trying to look as good as God. And I'm telling you, that's a dangerous place to be. Because none of us rate anywhere close to that level. So whether it's vindicating ourselves or whether it's boasting of ourselves, whether it's building ourselves up to put others down, it's all wrong. It's all wrong. Let me tell you a tough experience that we had, and it's still painful, and it'll always be a painful moment to me, but in one of my pastorates, when we were in another state, so I'm trying to be careful here. But there was a person that spent 6 months out to get me. That was their purpose, to figure out some way to get me. And guess what they did? And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not perfect. But all it took was one thing. And that was enough to say, you know, that keeps no record of they and how they wronged you. But it keeps no record for you that you were ever wrong. It's erasing. That's total forgiveness. And such a love means that we have to make a choice to forgive ourselves, them, and everyone. We tear up those pieces of paper. You know what I mean? Wherever those pieces of paper are that you wrote down on March of 2017, Booger said this. Okay? And I could give you 3 or 4 of these. In October of 2016, Jeff said, okay, you know I love you. You know what I'm talking about? You take those pieces of paper and you keep them hidden. You put them away in your billfold or your purse or some little cubby place, and you start picking those little pieces of paper out every once in a while just to remind you. Well, let me tell you something. True biblical life and forgiveness, complete total forgiveness, means you take all those papers and you take all the glue that you might use to stick them up, to post them in front of you so you always have them, or you pull off kind of like the little things that we put on our refrigerators. You know, it's got a little magnet on the back. You take the magnets off too, and you burn them. You get rid of them. Get rid of them. There was a moment in the life of the early church when they were together in the upper room, and they had a lot of emotions going on when that 120 were praying. Can you imagine that some of them were definitely feeling fear? Some of them was definitely experiencing guilt. How could we let them do that to our Jesus? There were a lot of emotions going on. And when Jesus came through that wall into their presence, he didn't look at them and say, Bobby, you remember when you, Peter, you remember when you, John, you remember when you, James, you remember? No, Jesus didn't say that. Jesus said, as the Father sent me, I'm sending you. You are forgiven. Anything that they would have done, you've already forgiven. He was ready for them to fulfill the purpose and the plan of God for His church. And when we empty ourselves of self-righteousness and pride, we enable God to move in us and move through us. You know why Peter was affected on the day of Pentecost after he had denied Jesus? You know why he was so powerful in his preaching? Because he experienced total forgiveness. You know why David, the king, was able to continue to reign and serve the children of Israel after his follies and mistakes? He had found total forgiveness. That's how they were able to move on. So real quickly, I want to close. Here's some signs. Here's the billboard that speaks and shows us that we have forgiven ourselves. When we no longer still feel guilty. When I no longer feel guilty because of what I did, God has taken it sins that we commit. And let me tell you something, folks. His forgiveness in the things that, even though we didn't sin, other people were hurt by it. Because I'm going to tell you something, that's what happens more times than not in church life. You listening to me? More times than not in church life. It's not that a person sins and is hurt somebody else. It's just the fact that somebody got hurt and you didn't necessarily sin. It's like you leaving tonight and heading down the road, and a little child runs out of the driveway and you hit them. Whose fault is it? It's not your fault. They're not charging you with the crime. You didn't do anything wrong. The child ran out in the road. It was an accident, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Yeah, you have these emotions, and yeah, you start experiencing guilt. What if I drove just a little slower? What if I paid more attention to behind that bush where they came from? What if you have all these questions? Well, the blood of Jesus Christ and the love of God that He has shed abroad in our heart takes all of those questions and washes them away. That's total forgiveness. Any sin that we have confessed to God is forgiven by God. And any guilt that we may experience, listen to me, any guilt that we may experience after God has totally forgiven us is a false guilt. And that only comes from one place, and that's those smooth place. That's the devil. He's bringing up a false guilt because it's not laid to our charge. God is not keeping a record of that sin. Do you hear me? God is not keeping that record. So we can't punish ourselves for what God has forgiven. And Jesus took all the guilt and the shame upon Himself on that cross so that we could walk free and clear before God. Amen?
Amen.